Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the whole flock of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. Got to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. The Most High, the Heavenly Father, his Hebrew name is Yahweh, not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not God, not Elohim, not Most High, not Lord, not Yah, not Jah, not Ahaya, not Allah. It's Yahweh. And his only begotten son name in Hebrew is Yahweh Shah. Not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ, not Serapis Christos, not Yeshaya, not Yehoshua. It's Yahweh Shah. So got to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Rekah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether accepted or not. And a sincere salutation to all the octave pushing the truth and believing the truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. And shalom to the Akwath who are listening and learning, the few sisters who are listening and learning. I'm Isaiah from GMS Soleno Camp, coming into another lesson in truth, facts, faith, and edification, another day of edification, another Saturday edification, Lord willing. Let's be edified. So I titled this lesson, The Land of Israel Before Heathens Entered. And I was watching what sparked me to do this lesson. I was watching Elder Apostle Tahar video earlier, and he mentioned something, and I thought about this because I've been holding this article in my phone for some years now, which is called The Timeline for the History of Jerusalem, right? But before I show this, before I go into this timeline, I want to pull these articles on these heathens taking the land of Israel after we left, right? After we were scattered. So I'm gonna show these articles, but I'm gonna read them from my phone. I just want Akim and Akwaf to see that these are the articles that I'm using. I ain't gonna read from them from here. I'm just showing them, and I'm gonna read from them from my phone. So this is one to say most read of 2021, Israel and Palestine. Where should history begin and should it matter? So when you scroll down, right, it talks about the geographic terms Israel and Palestine have a long history and specific connotation for Jews and Arabs with respect to their competing claims to the same land. The only way forward for Jewish, Israeli, and Palestinian Arabs is to cease looking backward. So right here it say, in the last decade of the 13th century BCE, it say Pharaoh Merneptah recorded that his military forces had decisively defeated an entity called Israel in the century highlands of what was then known as Canaan. A few centuries later, that region would be located for the two kingdoms, Israel and a weaker sister kingdom called Judah. The ultimate origin of the term Jew to its south, the biblical tradition holds that there had previously been a united monarchy. Monarchy means when you look up the word monotheism, right? It goes into Israel had one God. It's a united monarchy apparently under the name Israel. The kingdom of Israel was overthrown in it's a 722 BCE by the Neo-Assyrian Empire. It's a century in what is now Iraq. Ancient Mesopotamia and Israel ceased to be a geographic entity of the ancient Middle East. Now it say the word Palestina, right? In the 6th century BCE, Judah and its capital Jerusalem were conquered by the Neo-Babylonians, another Mesopotamia empire following the Babylonian exile. The territory of the former kingdom would serve as the geographic century of Jewish existence until it say until 135 CE, right? When following disastrous Jewish uprising, Roman Emperor Hadrian expelled the Jews from Jerusalem and decreed that the territory surrounding the city be part of a larger entity called Syria Palestina. Thenceforth, it would be primarily Jews in the diaspora, which is Israelite, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, who would carry the tradition of Judaism forward, which is not true. It is not Judaism, but that's whatever. It's a Palestina has as its ultimate as its ultimate referent the name and traditional territory of Philistines. Right? This is the word. This is the new word today, Palestine. If in the show you say moral enemies of the Israelites, forerunning of the Jews. That's why we know this is not their land, man. Them people that's in their land, this say 135 CE, man. Right? So listen, it's a as part of the Islamic conquest of the Middle East in the seventh century, Arab people began to settle in significant numbers in the land, apart from a relatively relatively brief period of Crusaders' control. Palestine remained under Muslim control for just under 12 centuries. Its population overwhelmed Arab, right? So then you got right here Zionism and Jewish return. And that's why the Palestinians been fighting against Esau Edom, because they know that's not their land. Now I'm gonna read the article. It tell you how it says Zionism and Jewish return in the second half of the 19th century. Jews yearning to return to their ancestry land, and the Palestinians knew that that's not their land, man. Because this guy, let me pull this up real quick. Let's pull this up. This guy that said the Jews left black and came back white, right? This president of Africa. Let's pull this up. See, this is how we know, man. According, it's the scriptures first and foremost, but these articles is very helpful, man. So let's get this. Let me pull this real quick. Salakia, I meant to blow this up to the whole screen. So it's a this is the guy name is Gamal Abdel Nasser. He said the Jews left black and returned white. Now this was the president over Africa, right? Let's pull this. It say Cairo, February 15th, 1970. Listen. It said excerpts. This is from New York Times. Excerpts from interview with President Gamal Abdel Nasser of the UAR. Right? It say, hold on, Salakia. He said, let me see. It's plain, man. He said, just want to read the point. It's in the article. He said the Jews left black and returned white. So right here, it say in the second half of the 19th century, Jews yearning to return to their ancestry land was given concrete expression in the form of the Jewish nationalistic movement, Zionism. Zionism arose. It arose in response to mounting, it's a virulent Jew hatred in Europe. It's a and with that Zaxxris, Russia, as Jews began to trickle back into the land, they encountered a sizable Arab population that had been there for centuries. Under the Turkish Ottoman Empire, the land comprised three administrative regions, none of which bore the name Palestine. World War One saw the collapse of the Ottomans, and in 1917, the land fell under British rule. Now, starting in 1917, this is when Esau started to go up in there. Okay? Now, hold on. So, that's all I want on that. Now, let me come back. Let me get these other two articles. Now, check this out. Because we know them devils that's in that land, that's not their land, man. So, like it. Let me pull these other two articles. Hey, could these hey, this information that's on this World Wide Web, it helps, man. Now let's get this one. Right here. Let's get this. Now check this out. It's titled Palestine History. It's titled Palestine, right? So it's a Palestine is a small region of land that has played a prominent role in the ancient and modern history of the Middle East. The history of Palestine has been marked by frequent political conflict and violent land seizures because of its importance to several major world religions. And because Palestine sits at a valuable geographic crossroad between Africa and Asia, today Arab people who call this territory home, as known as Palestinians, and the people of Palestine has a strong desire to create a free and independent state in this contested region of the world. It say, what is Palestine? Listen, the word Palestine derives from the Greek word Philistia, right? Which is the Philistine because the Hamites was in that land. Okay? It's the Greek word Philistia, which dates to ancient Greek writers' description of the region in the 12th century BC. Since the fall of the Ottoman Empire in the World War One to 1918, Palestine typically referred to the geographic region located between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River. Arab people who called this territory home have been known as Palestinians since the early 20th century. Much of this land is now considered present-day Israel, right? So, let me go down. It's a Palestinian early roots. This is what I want because this is not these devils' land. It's not the Palestinians' land neither, man. But this is what happened after 70 AD. Listen, scholars believe the name Palestine originally comes from the word Philistia. And when you go to our Joel the third chapter in the blue letter, when it say when it mention the word Palestine, when you look it up, it say Philistia in the blue letter, right? It say scholars believe the name Palestine originally comes from the word Philistia, which refers to the Philistines who occupied part of the region in the 12th century BC. Throughout history, we know BC means before Yahushua. Throughout history, Palestine has been ruled by numerous groups. And I got the whole line. I got the whole timeline, which I'm going to show last. The whole timeline since we left Israel, man. From the time of King David, from the time of Joshua and Caleb, all the way down to now. I got the whole timeline. It say, throughout history, Palestine has been ruled by numerous groups, including the Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, Romans. These are the what? These are the kingdoms in Daniel chapter 7, right? It say Arabs. Look, it say throughout history, Palestine has been ruled by numerous groups. It say including the Assyrians, Babylonians. That's why it was called the what it was, the Neo Babylon Empire. It's Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, Romans, Arabs, it said the Fatimids, the Seljuks, Turks, Crusaders, Egyptians, and Mamelukes. Hold on, let's pop up Salakia. It say from about 1517 to 1917, the Ottoman Empire ruled much of the region. When World War I ended in 1918, the British took control of Palestine. This is when Esau came up in there. This is after all these different people, Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians. We know the Greeks took it, right? We know the Romans took it, right? Well, after all this, you had the Arabs, right? These Turks, the Crusaders, right? It's a from about 1517 to 1917, the Ottoman Turks, the Ottoman Empire ruled much of the region. World War I ended in 1918. Then British took control of Palestine. The League of Nations issued a British mandate for Palestine, a document that gave Britain administrative control over the region and included provisions for establishing a Jewish national homeland in Palestine, which went into effect in 1923. It say the partition of Palestine. In 1947, after more than 2 decades of British rule, the United Nations proposed a plan to partition Palestine into two sections, an independent Jewish state and an independent Arab state. The city of Jerusalem, which was claimed as a capital by both Jews and Palestinian Arabs, was to be an international territory with a special status. Now I got to, so let's see, it say Jewish leaders accepted the plan, but many Palestinian Arabs, some of whom had been actively fighting British and Jewish interests in the region since 1920s, because they came in there after the 1917, after Britain moved the Ottoman Empire. It said vehemently opposed it. Arab groups argued that they represented the majority of the population in certain regions and should be granted more territory, then began to form volunteer armies throughout Palestine. Israel became a state. In May 1948, it say less than a year after the partition plan for Palestine was introduced, Britain withdrew from Palestine and Israel declared itself an independent state, implying a willingness to implement the partition plan. Right? And I'm going to get into this. We know this through the Balfour Declaration, which I'm going to read. It say in May 1948, less than a year later, which I just read there, it say almost immediate neighboring Arab armies moved in to prevent the establishment of the Israeli state in 1948 Arab-Israeli war that ensued that they say that ensued involving Israel and five Arab nations: Jordan, Iraq, Syria, Egypt, and Lebanon. By the war's end in July 1949, Israel controlled more than two-thirds of the former British mandate, while Jordan took control of the West Bank and Egypt took control of the Gaza Strip. They say in 1948, the conflict opened a new chapter in the struggle between Jews and Palestinian Arabs, which now became a regional contest involving nation states and a tangle of diplomatic, political, and economic interests. So, hold on. Then you go into the 6 Day War, right? The 6 Day War was triggered during a volatile period of diplomatic friction and skirmishes between Israel and its neighbor. In April 1967, the clashes worsened after Israel and Syria fought a ferocious air and artillery engagement in which 6 Syrian fighter jets were destroyed. So let me get out of that. Let me get this other article, right? Because it goes into a little more detail. Because see, we know, man. Let me pull this. Now this one they call, hey, now this one goes into a little more. It give you the whole breakdown of what was going on. And it's called Al Nakba, the history of Palestine since 1799. So let's check this out. And these articles, man, is very important to have, man, to use. Listen, it say Palestinians refer to Salakia. Palestinians refer to it as Al Nakba, which literally translate as the catastrophic, a catastrophe, Salakia, catastrophe. It refers to the mass exodus of at least 750 Arabs from Palestine, though most believe this event began in 1948. In fact, Al Nakba, which is uh, catastrophe, began decades earlier, which is way back in 17. Let's read it. See, this ain't started in 1948 by no Balfour Declaration, man. This is when they established the takeover. They was already trying to take it over, man. They came in there after 1917, man. Talking about Esau, Britain. So let's read this. Check this out. This is important to know, man. It's a expelling people from their home is a war crime, right? It's a as well as prevent them from returning. Israel didn't just commit a war crime in 1948, but continue to commit one to this day. It's a in 1799, during the French invasion of the Arab world, Napoleon issued a proclamation offering Palestine as a homeland to Jews under France's protection. You see this? Hold on. Salakia. So this is heavy, man. This was also a way to establish a French presence in the region. Napoleon's vision of a Jewish state in the Middle East did not materialize at the time, but nor did it die. In the late 19th century, the plan was revived by the British. So watch this. Here we go. Following the collapse of the Ottoman Empire after World War I and the establishment of the Palestine Mandate, the British colonial power began implementing its plan of creating a Jewish state on Palestinian land, which it wasn't their land, but they was there first, before these devils. At the same time, the Zionist movement was lobbying Western powers to support the mass migration of Jews to Palestine and recognize the Jewish claim to the land. Here we go. Check it out. Britain had no moral or political or legal right to promise the land that belonged to the Arabs to another people. Hey, but as I tell you, they control the earth. They have the dominance of the earth, man, because they got the biggest. They have the best swords, man. Okay, these devils took this. The prophecy was what? That the Lord was going to give them the dominion, the fatness of the earth. Right? Look, here we go. In 1917, the Balfour Declaration declared British support for a nation home for the Jewish people in Palestine. And this is why the Palestinians was fighting these devils, because they knew, because the other article it said that they was going to return them back into their own land. They never was in that land. Esau was never there, man. They took it over in 70 AD, but this is talking about ancient time. In this article, it tell you that um Arabs was fighting because they said they had claim to the land because they know that they are the sons of Abraham, Ishmael. It said in this article, Lord willing, I'm going to read it. Let's read this. It say in 1917, the Balfour Declaration declared British support for a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. The declaration was made in a letter written by Britain's then Foreign Secretary Arthur James Balfour to Baron Rothschild. And the apostle talked about this all the time, man. Okay? They talked about this all the time, man. It say a leader of the British Zionist movement. The letter was endorsed by Britain's then Prime Minister David Lloyd George, who became a Zionist in 1915. The letter stated the British will use their best endeavors to felicitate the achievements of this object. For Zionists, this was a clear victory. The crucial British accomplishment to help Zionists was allowed the Jews to have their own army. The influx of Zionists to Palestine, supported by the British, was met by fierce Palestinian resistance. The purchases of land by Jews and Zionist settlement displaced tens of thousands of Palestinians from their homes. The entire process was facilitated by the British, while the Palestinian leaders in Jerusalem insisted on continuing negotiating with the British to resolve the simmering tension. It say Izzi al-Din al-Qassam, a Syrian leader living in Haifa since 1922, began calling for an army revolt against the British and the Zionists. In 1935, al-Qassam was surrounded by British forces and killed along with some of his men. His resistance inspired many Palestinians. By 1936, an Arab rebellion erupted against British imperialism and Zionist settlement and Zionist settler colonism. The battle for Palestine was lost by the Palestinians, not in 1948, but in the late 1930s, because Britain completely smashed the ground the Arab revolt and the Arab irregular forces. See, this happened way before 1948, right? So it said by 1939, the British had smashed the rebellion. The Palestinians found themselves fighting two enemies: British colony forces and Zionist militia groups. Although the British had backed mass Jewish immigrations to Palestine, the colonial power began to limit the number of Jews arriving to the country in an attempt to quell Arab unrest. The new limit on immigration upset the Zionists. They launched a series of terrorist attacks on British authorities to drive them out. Now listen, it tell you in Isaiah 2:1 and in Micah 4:1 that if that was the land of Israel, if that was the kingdom of heaven, it wouldn't be no wars, right? So let me go down. I want to find this article. I want to find the rest of this. And you know what? It might be in another article. Hold on. Yeah, that's going into these devils. So let me come out of that. I think it's back in the other article. Let me pull it up. So bear with me. As a matter of fact, let me get it on my phone, man. Let me get it here on my phone. Because it tell you, they talks about how did they know, the Arabs know, right here. This is the one that's called Most Read of 2021. So let me read this, right? It say, listen, hey, that's how you know. Hey, these Arabs feel like they closer to the land because they know they from the sons of Ishmael. Listen, it say this article originated published on June 19, 2021. It is one of the top 10 most read articles published in Outlook in 2021. Australian Outlook. It say in her 14 May Looking Forward newsletter, it say Jody Rodurin, New York Times Jerusalem bureau chief during the last two Israel Hamas wars in 2012 and 2014. There have been four since 2008. Wrote, it does not actually help to examine what specifically started this conflagration, or one of the let's say, or the one before, or the one before that. But it does, in so many ways, end up at Abraham having two sons. There was Isaac and there was Ishmael. Hold on. Let me pull this up so you can see. I don't want people to think I'm reading something that I don't got. So let me pull this up. This is beautiful, man. And that's why they feel like they have more right to their land because they know the Arabs know that they from the son of Ishmael, man. So let me get it right here. Because it was at the top. Right here. So look. Let me make sure it's sharing. Okay, so right here. Hopefully you can see it, but I'm going to read it. Right here it say because it does in so many ways end up at Abraham having two sons. There was Isaac and there was Ishmael, a reference to the Genesis account that the patriarch Abraham engendered one son said to be the ancestor of the Arabs. They got Ishmael in parentheses. You see it? And another considered to be the ancestor of Jews, Isaac. You see this? So they feel like in the other article about this, said about them returning, talking about the so-called Jews returning to the land. Is it this article? No, it's the other article about how they talking about they're going to return to the land, right? Well, these Ishmaelites know that they have no right to that land, man. They know it. It's a man. This is beautiful, man. I want to find an article when it said they was going to return. Hold on. It may be the other one. I think it's the other one. But right here, they know. They said that they know that they are the sons of Ishmael. It said, let's read it again. A reference to the Genesis account that the patriarch Abraham engendered the one son said to be the ancestor of Arabs, Ishmael, and another considered to be the ancestors of Jews, the Israelites. It say Isaac. So hey, so them Ishmaelites know, man. And I got a Ishmaelite, Arab manager at the job, and it's funny because his his name is his name is Baha, right? I said, hey, do you know what Baha mean in the Hebrew? He was like, no. So I ain't even tell him because it's funny. I just say, Baha, Baha Shem, like Baha. His name is Baha. So I said, that your ancestors, your line go back to Ishmael, Abraham's first son. He said he didn't know that, but I believe he lying, man. I think he know. He's just trying to be humble because when I first told him back in 2017 about I took off in March. I put in like a 2 week, 3 weeks early, for the Passover or whatever. And once he asked me, and I told him what was going on, he was like, yeah. Then about the Day of Atonement. He was like, yeah, they got how they got their little what is called that little fast thing they do. What is it called? Um I forgot what it's called. Y'all know what I'm talking about. A Ramadan, or how you pronounce it. I don't know how you pronounce it actually correctly. I'm looking for this real quick. I'm looking for this other article when it said that Israel, they're gonna return back to their land. Let me pull this. I think it was the first one I started reading. I don't know. Um, Let me see if it's this one. Salakia. I just want to show you. I just want to show it. So we'll see. So Ishmael know, man, that these devils they have no right to this land, man. So let me see. I want to get a couple pre-sales and I'm going to close out. I think it was this article right here. Let me see. It's talking about how these devils talking about they coming back to reclaim the land. So bear with me. I just want to show this before I close out and get a couple pre-sales. This is beautiful, man. These devils, hey, in the scriptures was first, man. We know that these devils have no history to this land other than conquering it, man. I don't think it's with this one. Let's see. Okay, so let me check this other one. Salakia, man. Bear with me. I won't try to make this too long. I'm trying to breeze through this. I want to show these articles, man. Because Ishmael know that Esau, they know they have more right to the land than these devils do, man. So they think because they know that they from the son, even though Esau come from Isaac, but they feel like, and even though the what's this called? It gotta be this one. That yeah, what I was gonna say. Even though they know that the birthright didn't go to Esau, right? But these devils feel like they have more part of the land than Esau do when the birthright didn't go to the Ishmaelites neither, man. Let me see. Right here, right here, right here. Here you go. Call out y'all about your mama shot. So in this article, this is what the Ishmaelites saying. It say this is Zionism and Jewish return. In the second half of the 19th century, Jews yearning to return to their ancestral land was given concrete expression in the form of the Jewish nationalistic movement, Zionism. And Ishmael knew, these Arabs knew that these devils was never given this land. What are you talking about return? The point I'm making is it's a Jews yearning to return to their ancestral land. Ishmael knew when Esau was trying to take the land over that they wasn't how you returning. The which I read it. This guy from Africa, this president of Africa said, let's put it up again. He said the Jews left black and came back white. Let's get this. Ishmael know, man. Ishmael know Esau ain't have no right to that land, man. They knew that. Let's read this. Hold on, bear with me. This is an interview.
It was nearly 25 years ago that I first came to Egypt as a correspondent of the New York Times. Gamal Abdel Nasser was then an obscure young army officer. Now, still only 52 years old, he is president of the country, the United Arab Republic, and has been president for 15 eventful years. We are his guests tonight in the presidential palace. Since I left Cairo in 1947, 22 years ago, much has changed in this part of the world, and many things have changed for the better. But one thing has not changed: the bitter antagonism between the ancient Arab states and the newcomer in their midst, the state of Israel. 3 times the Arabs and Israelis have gone to war: in 1948, 1956, and 1967. Now, efforts are being made by the United Nations and jointly by the United States, Britain, France, and the Soviet Union.
You see? Now, this article is called Gamal Abdel Nasser Interview, 1969. Ain't gonna play no more. Go watch the article, man. Go watch the video. He said that the Jews left black and came back white, man. So these Ishmaels in these articles, they know, man. They know. Now, I want to show this timeline. I'm gonna show you this timeline, and I will get some precepts. I might get 1 or 2 precepts. Cause I gotta go pick up this. Gotta go make a run real quick. So look at this. Make sure it's sharing. Oh, I ain't never clicked it. Hold on. So check this out. Here's the timeline. Now this is what they calling it. History of Jerusalem timeline for the history of Jerusalem, 4500 BCE to present, right? So it's a Chalcolithic period, 4532 BCE. It's a 3500 BCE first settlement of Jerusalem, right? So it got early Bronze Age, first house built in area, 1800s, first, it's a construction of first city wall, late Bronze Age, 1550 to 1200 BCE, first mention of Jerusalem in cuneiform or Mana letters. Anyway, it's a, let's start right here. Iron Age, 1200 to 1000 BCE. 1200 BCE, Jerusalem is conquered by the Canaanites, Jebusites, right? So Iron Age 2, it's a 10 BCE, King David conquered Jerusalem, declared city capital of Jewish kingdom. King David's son Solomon builds first Jewish temple. Assyrians conquer Samaria. Refugees flee to Jerusalem, and city expands onto Western Hill. 701 BCE. All these dates, Assyrian rule, and it's a lay siege to Jerusalem. I forgot. Sennacherib. It's a 586 BCE. Babylonian force destroyed Jerusalem and demolished first temple. Right. So here we is. This is from the Canaanites when we took that land. You got Joshua and Caleb first took the land of Canaan, right? Then you got King David on down. 586 BCE, Babylonian forces destroyed Jerusalem and demolished first temple. Persian period, right? Persian rule, Cyrus the Great conquered Babylonian Empire, including Jerusalem. Cyrus permitted Jews in Babylonian exile to return to Jerusalem, second temple built. 445 to 425 BCE, Nehemiah the prophet rebuilds the wall of Jerusalem. That's in Ezra and Nehemiah. City confounded to Eastern Hill. You can read that in Ezra the 4th chapter and Nehemiah the 4th chapter. Go and read it. Right? Say Hellenistic period when Israelites took on Greek fashions and was forced to be called Greeks. That's why the word Greek is in the New Testament. Hellenistic period. 323, it's a 332, right? Alexander started to rule when? 323. He reigned for 12 years. He was 20, died when he was 32. It's a Greek leader, Alexander the Great, conquered Judea and Jerusalem, right? 332 BCE. 332, 141 BCE. Ptolemaic and Seleucid rule in Jerusalem. This is when Ptolemy and Antiochus Epiphanes took flight, right? Here's the Hasmonean period, 141 BCE. Hasmonean dynasty begins. Jerusalem again expands limit to Western Hill. 63 BCE, Roman general Pompey captures Jerusalem. Right? Herodian period, King Herod reconstructs Second Temple as retaining walls. 30 CE, Yahushua crucified by Romans in Jerusalem. Roman period, 70 AD to 324 CE. It's a 70 CE. Roman force destroyed Jerusalem and demolished Second Temple. 135 CE. Jerusalem rebuilt as a Roman city. You see this? Byzantine Empire. Church of the Holy Sepulchre built. Persian captured Jerusalem. Byzantine Christians recaptured Jerusalem from Persians. This when Israel took flight. This when Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Byzantine Empire, right? So after this was broke up, right? You had Esau to take back flight, right, in the mid 1300s. So here you go. You got all these. First crusade captured Jerusalem, Crusader period. Look, all the way through, which I was reading, right? Mamluk period, Ottoman period, British Mandate, 1978. All this, man. What we was at during these times, right here. It said first Muslim period, crusade. What is called a U-bid period, Mamluk period, Ottoman period, British Mandate, divided city. All this. None of these people, let's go back up. None of these people was in this land during this time right here of 1000 BCE, 960 BCE with King David and Solomon. None of these people, these are all heathens that took this land. So we know you got these articles, right? But then, more than that, we got these precepts. Let me read a couple. I got to go down here to my Caesars and pick up my garment. This is this is Psalms. I'm just gonna read a couple, man. This is Psalms 79 and 1. And we know this because the scripture told us first, man. Things were written aforetime ago for our learning. First, this is Psalm 71 and 1. Salakia. Psalm 79 and 1. O power, the heathen are coming to thine inheritance. The holy temple have they defiled. They have laid Jerusalem on heaps. The heathens, right? This is Psalms, Salakia, Isaiah 1 and verse 7. Your country is desolate. Your cities are burned with fire. Your land, strangers devour it in your presence. And it is desolate as overthrown by strangers. Right? This is Ezekiel chapter 7. And verse 21 it reads, and I will give it into the hands of strangers for a prey, some of the land, and to the wicked of the earth for a spoil, and they shall pollute it. My face will I turn also from them, from the Israelites, and they shall pollute my secret place. Lord, turn his face from us, turn his face from Esau, let them deal what they want to do. It say, my face will I turn also from them, and they shall pollute my secret place, for the robbers shall enter into it and defile it. This verse 24, wherefore I will bring the worst of the heathen, and they shall possess their houses. I also will make the pomp of the strong to cease, and their holy places shall be defiled, man. Talking about the land of Israel. Heathens are in there, man. This is Luke. This is Luke 21 and 20. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land and wrath upon his people. And that's what the Lord told the women in Luke 23 when he was toting the cross. And it said women was following him weeping, and he stopped while he was toting the cross and told them, don't weep for him, weep for you and your children. It say, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword. Who? The Israelites, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled, man. We know who's in the land, man. We got the scriptures first, then you can go and find the articles on Google, man. So yeah, I was watching Apostle Tahar earlier, and he sparked me to go and look that up because I've been holding this timeline on my phone for some years, man. But them other three articles, man, show you that, hey, we know that's not them in the land, man. What is this? So I'm gonna answer this question. Yeah, yeah. So the Sabbath is based off the new moon, and on this month it's Thursday evening to Friday evening. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. So Shalom, Tyler Ackman, I walk tuning in. Shalom, Yahweh Shem, Abba Shem, Rakah Kodash, Barakatham. Well, for tuning in. Gotta give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone who well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all Israel, ready to accept it or not. In the sense of salutation, Tyler Ackman, pushing the truth and believing the truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the whole elect. Shalom to that walk to our listening learning, that few sisters who are listening learning. Lord, what's edifying to next time I say Shalom, Wa Abba. Yeah, so the Shabbat was Thursday sundown and Friday sundown. So it's over with now. Yeah. But anyway, the Lord was edifying me. I just wanted to Apostle Hall sparked my spirit this morning, and I already had that one article about the timeline of Jerusalem. And we know heathens have been in our land since 70 AD, man. Even before then. But after 70, after the Babylonians, after the Medo-Persian Empire, we was able to go back to rebuild. And you can read that in Nehemiah, the 4th chapter, and in Ezra, in the Bible, which the Apocrypha is the Bible, but the Ezra, Ezra, the 4th chapter, Nehemiah, the 4th chapter. Heathen had been in our land since 70 AD, man. So we know these devils not the people of the land, man. Oh, I'm gonna mention it because I got this 11:14. This lady closed at 12. I gotta pick up my garment. In Michael, matter of fact, let's read it. Isaiah 2:1. The word that Isaiah, the son of Amos, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. All nations ain't flowing to the land of Israel right now, man. It's a beef right now between Iran and Israel. If this was the case, that was the kingdom of heaven, Israel would be flowing to that land right now. I mean, Iran be flowing to the land right now without them fighting. The Palestinians, it'll be peace. It say, and all nations shall flow into it. This is future prophecy. That's how we know. Before the articles, forget the articles, the precept, the scriptures, prophecy, man. And many people shall go and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, Yahweh, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. By the Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem, and he shall judge among the nations and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares. Ain't gonna be no more weapons. And their spears into pruning hooks. Nations shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Let's get that. Ezekiel 39. Let's start at verse 7. Ezekiel 39 and 7. This is what the Lord say. You're going to know him. All of Israel. Heathens, the elect, to 2/3, I'm talking about Israel, which is heathens. They're going to know the Lord, man. All going to know. Ezekiel 39 and 7. So I will make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not let them pollute my holy name anymore. And the heathen shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel, because it is come and it is done, saith the Lord Yahweh by Shema shall power. This is the day whereof I have spoken, and they that dwell in the cities of Israel shall go forth and shall set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shields and the bucklers, the bows and the arrows and the handstaves and the spears, and they shall burn them with fire 7 years, completion of burning all weapons, so that they shall take no wood out of the field, neither cut down any out of the forest, for they shall burn the weapons with fire, and they shall spoil those that spoil them. It's talking about the elect of Israel, and rob those that rob them, saith the Lord power. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will give unto Gog a place there of graves in Israel, the valley of the passengers on the east of the sea, and it shall stop the noses of the passengers, and there shall they bury God. It's just how much stink is going to be from these dead bodies everywhere after World War III, man. It say, and there shall they bury Gog and all his multitude, and they shall call it the valley of Hamagog. You see that? It say, in 7 months shall the house of Israel be burying of them. But we're gonna have these people putting these people to burying them, man. Because Israel ain't gonna do no work, man. It say they that they may cleanse the land. Yeah, all the people of the land shall bury them, and it shall be to them a renown the day that I shall be glorified, saith the Lord Yahweh power. Right? It say, and it shall, and they who the Israelites, the elect, and they shall sever out men of continual employment, passing through the land to bury with the passengers those that remain upon the face of the earth to cleanse it. After the end of the 7 months shall they search. Come on, man. And to go into Revelations, if I stay and go into Revelations, what about the angels that's going to be at the gates when the kingdom of heaven is established on earth? What about the city paved with sapphire and rubies and emeralds and gemstones? The infrastructure of the kingdom, like the brother Ayasha going into the other day did a beautiful lesson, man, of the infrastructure about the infrastructure of the kingdom of heaven, man, with the sapphires, emeralds, and gemstones and rubies and carbuncle and all these different stones and gold. That's not over there, man. That land is full of dirt and weapons and wickedness, man. They just showed a guy, some guy in Tel Aviv. I think he killed a few people the other day, man. I meant to do a lesson on that, man. Some guy in Tel Aviv killed some people, man. Listen, man. We know, man. The Lord say Israelites, Jews will not go back into that land until the Messiah return, man. So we know, man. We know. And there wouldn't be no weapons of war, man. It say God gonna be destroyed, man, because God is the one that's gonna destroy everything, man. So Lord willing is edifying. Beautiful. Let's read this. This is Adam 9 put up Ezekiel 31 and 12. It say, and strangers, the terrible of the nations, have cut them off and have left them upon the mountains, which are these governments, and in all the valleys, his branches are fallen, and his boughs are broken by all. That's us, man. Our boughs are broken by every nation, man. Hey, it say the rivers, it say by all the rivers of the land and all the people of the earth are gone down from his shadows and have left him. Beautiful precept, Bob. Beautiful. Yeah, man. Hey, so Lord was edified today. Time I say shalom. Wah abab abab the for tuning in. May Yahweh Shema shall continue to bless you in your houses. Stay prayed up. We know the kingdom of heaven would not have no Idumeans in it, man. Not one Edomite, man. Not one. Not inside the gates. Not inside the courts. They're gonna be outside the temple, as all other heathen, man. So we ain't going back into that land, and that's why the Lord is destroying this thing with these demonians. What is it, Ben Ami and the rest of those Israelites, those 400-500 Israelites that's over there? Listen, man. The Lord said we don't supposed to be over there, man. We don't supposed to be over there, man. We're not going back into that land. Hey, don't take your ass over there to visit. None of that, man. None of that, man. We ain't going back into the land of Israel until it's cleansed, man. And in that article, it was saying how that it got to be that. Hey, it got to be cleansed out, man, with fire. So, till next time, I say shalom, wa abba.